for retirementhomes.com. Welcome to our February webinar. We are North America's leading online sales and marketing solutions provider, including our housing directory, our online library, and e-newsletters. We also offer, free of charge to senior living professionals, the top experts in senior living every month who will share their knowledge in the fields of marketing, research, sales, and related areas, and webinars such as the one you're about to hear. This month we present Michael Miller, President and CEO of Primo Solutions LLC, based in Phoenix, Arizona. Michael's experience in sales training for senior living professionals, and in addition to being the author of 4 books, he is also a decorated combat veteran. Michael's presentation, Turning Your Website into a Lead Generator, will share strategies for how senior living professionals can turn their websites into selling machines. There will be a Q&A session at the end of the presentation. If you would like a question answered, raise your hand in the toolbar to the right, type in your question, and time permitting, it will be answered at the end. And of course, you are also welcome to ask a question anytime during the presentation itself. Now, please welcome Michael.
All right, thanks, Robert, and thanks everybody for joining us today. We're just going to jump right into this. I appreciate that introduction. And here we go. Obviously, the title of this is Turning Your Website into a Lead Generator, and it's one of those things that I'm rather passionate about, especially with the services that our company provides. And here's kind of just a basic agenda that you can expect that we're going to talk about today. I'm going to try not to get too geeky or too techy. That's just kind of not really who I am. I do try to talk at a higher level, and quite frankly, don't like to get into the weeds when it comes to these kind of conversations. But I also want to let you know the tools that are available to you to help you. I know there's a lot of big organizations that do a lot of this web optimization for them. But I also understand there's smaller organizations that are trying to do it themselves and trying to just understanding how it all works. So hopefully there'll be some golden nuggets in here for everybody. But yeah, we'll be talking about website optimization, which you can do to move yourself up higher in the search engine. We're going to talk about online reviews and how they play a critical role in our lead development. Got some solutions, some recommendations that I'll offer, and then, like Robert said, we'll have Q&A session. So I'll probably be moving pretty quick. So please, yeah, I don't mind if it's not too much logistical work to answer questions as we go. I have ADD, so it's kind of like if I don't ask the question up front, I normally forget it. So feel free to interrupt if you got that burning question that needs to be answered. But I will move through this rather quickly just to make sure that we do have time at the end to answer some questions. Saying that, just want to also let you know at the end of the presentation, and you do have to wait to the end, there's going to be 4 giveaways that I'm going to give, and truly these are 4 free giveaways. There's no strings attached, and I think it's something that a lot of you would be happy to get. So when we talk about website optimization, we're most of us are thinking search engines, we're thinking Google, and rightfully so. When you talk about search engines, you can see from the graph here that Google is pretty much taking us 67%. It's kind of funny, and no matter where I'm at or with the kids, we're out with the family, or trying to figure something out. Someone's got a question, we don't know the answer. Somebody will say, "Hey, just Google it." It just becomes one of those modern household terms I think most of us use now. But just to be aware, there's also some other web search engines out there that are also that people are using as well. The good news about all this is that what's typically good for Bing is also good for Yahoo. So if you follow these rules, the Google rules, you'll pretty much be okay with the other search engines as well. So when we talk about website optimization, we're talking about, all right, so when we do this search, how does my name, how's my community name, my company name, my organization, how do I get up there near the top? Do I have to scroll through 4 or 5 pages before I finally see the search results? How do these other people get up there? And there's those pay-per-click. There's a lot of things that people actually pay for, but there's things up there that I'm going to provide you with today that are free. And it is a little bit technical, but with a little bit of assistance, you can certainly move yourself up higher on the page just by knowing a few of these things. So number one, and the highest way to get ranked up there is your content. You really need to have good, solid content on your website. A lot of text I would say a lot of text, more text than not, because that's what search engines are looking for. There's a way to embed, obviously, images and videos and all those kind of things, so what the search engine, when they start crawling through, they can also recognize that. I've heard statistics that, in the next, I think by 2015, that 80% of websites will at least have a video on it. But the main thing is have good quality content, something that's unique, but also put it in just regular human words, and we're going to talk a little bit about that and how the search engines recognize that. The second thing is optimized title tags, and you may be thinking to yourself, okay, what do you mean by these title tags? Well, this is what comes up, when you on your browser, and if maybe you're on, I'm just going to throw, say, Sunset Retirement Communities. If you're on that website, up in the top bar, it gives you the title of that page. So it might be Sunset Retirement Communities, home, but all that is decided by, it's actually written into the code. You can go into the code and actually change that. A lot of websites now, if you're using WordPress or something like that, will allow you to do that without even going into the code. A lot of plugins allow you to do that. But those are the title tags, and those are the things that Google is searching for. And when it comes across that title tag, it's also matching that title tag to see if it's something that's also on the content of that page. If you have something in there that's not on the contents of your page, Google frowns upon that. So you want to make sure you have good content that also matches your title tag, because the title tag is actually the second most important search engine optimization consideration. And when I say search engine optimization, I'm just going to, for the future purpose, I'm going to say SEO. But typically that could look like your brand name, so it could be your company name, it could be your community name with maybe a couple keywords. So if you did a search for Primo Solutions, it probably have, Primo Solutions, and, we're full service sales training, mystery shopping, customer service, a few words after that will actually come up. And you'll also notice that this is what comes up on the actual search page under the description. Another thing to note just on optimized title tags is that you can only have a max of 70 characters. So you really want to pick and choose which words that you're actually going to use there and which you think is going to be best for your search engine optimization. A strong external link profile is, maybe you've heard that, what you say about your website is important, but what's more important is what others say about you. So an external link is any link that's outside your domain that points back to you. So if there's somebody on the call here and you belong to Sunrise Senior Living or Brookdale or Meredith, one of these large organizations, and you have a link to your community on several different pages within the Sunrise domain, that really doesn't give you a strong link. What gives you that link is if there's other websites out there, other companies like an Alpha or ASA or the Leading Age, but even in social media, those things where there's links that link back to you. So I have a partners page where I link to different partners, and those partners link back to me. Just like associations, I'm a member of Alpha, so there's a link there that links back. Those are your strong external link profiles, and they're critical to search engine optimization. So it is a good thing to develop those relationships outside your organization that speak about you and link back to you. Next is the social media, and I'm not going to speak a whole lot about social media, because I think that if you attended a conference in the past few years, we've just beat this horse to death. We've resurrected it. We've beat it again. We all know that we should be using social media, and there's a ton of them out there. The popular ones out there, Facebook, Twitter, Google+, LinkedIn, especially good for your business contacts, Pinterest, Instagram. There's a number of them out there, and the idea is to position yourself, position your community so that you are available and you are seen on social media. I have a Facebook page. I've got my personal page. I've got a company page. And I rarely even go into it, to be honest with you. I probably should do a better job with Facebook, but I don't get in there very often. But it's there. So it's one of those things that's adding a little bit more presence and a little more credibility, and it's linking back to Primo Solutions, so it helps with that whole optimized title. But social media is important. People are using it. Last night we were just in Bible study, and at the end of it, our group, our homework assignment was, to summarize everything we talked about into one sentence and tweet it to our church Twitter account. I was the only one in the group that tweeted. Nobody else had a Twitter account. But those are the things that, you get your name out there, especially when you talk about Facebook. What's interesting, and maybe you know this, maybe you don't, but I'll touch on it real quick. Facebook is all about likes. We all know that. Almost every web page is like this page, like this page. What's great about that is that if you have a Facebook page and you put an article in there, a really neat article, or you talk about your resident, and somebody likes that, the person who liked that, everybody that they have in their Facebook network saw that they liked that particular article. So this, you can see how quickly this could grow exponentially. So like I said, it's one of those things. Twitter, same thing. You can retweet things, but social media is big, and it's huge when it comes to search engine optimization and optimizing your website. And the last, I'm going to talk about this Hummingbird thing, and at a very high level, and quite frankly, I don't know a whole lot of the details about Hummingbird, but this is the new algorithm that that Google uses, and they just started using it really in depth this year. As you know, you go to Google and you do a search. Let's just say that you did a search for, we'll just use Sunset Retirement Communities in Florida. What Google used to do, and it still does, still uses keywords, but primarily it pulled up all the web pages that had assisted, that had living, that had Florida, had those keywords in there. It pulled everything up, and you kind of just saw everything. What Hummingbird does is, instead of focusing on just the keywords, it now focuses more on phrases. And that's where I was telling you it's important that your title tags are, follow along, are in concert with what you have on your web page, and that the content in your web page is something we would ask. If I want to do a search for assisted living in Orlando, that's what I would put in there: assisted living communities in Orlando. And if it's on your website, it says we're a premier assisted living community in Orlando. You're going to be one of those top ones in Google. Now, let me follow that up with the second part of this, is that it also is focused more. The results are based on proximity of the person who's searching. So I don't know if recently you've done a search, but if you want to try this out, when you get off this webinar, just do a search for an item of clothing or something. Just the other day, I was looking for some snowboarding goggles, and so I typed in snowboarding goggles in Google, and what I found out is all the retail stores that was closest to me were the first ones that came up. And I thought, hey, that's kind of cool. Yeah, it is kind of cool, but it's also kind of scary, because now the search engine knows where you're at and can tell you, what's closest to you. So think about the searcher, the prospect, that are online and searching and pulling up assisted living. The proximity piece is going to automatically pull them closer up to the top of the page as far as results are concerned. So now you're talking about where content, all these other things are playing a huge part of that Hummingbird algorithm. So, all right, hope I didn't geek out too much there for everybody. We're going to move into contact forms, and contact forms on websites are, honestly, they're near and dear to my heart, and I'll tell you why. Every year we conduct market research shots for different clients, and last year I think we did market research shots for about 500 communities. This is where we're going and get all the pricing for the care levels and everything, floor plans and all that. And where we start is we start obviously on the contact page. Well, I want to provide you with just some of the stats that came back just from last year that kind of just blew me away. So like I said, we did about 500 communities. 95% of those, so that's about 475, sent an automated response back to them. Of those 475, 15%, which would be 72, had incorrect information. And I would tell you that the majority of those, and I'm not going to mention any companies out there that manage and host websites and do all this SEO stuff, but most of them are coming from the companies that manage that. And I'm not saying it's their fault, but I'm saying there's a lack of communication. So the those automated emails that said, "Here, you can click here to contact us," didn't work. I was getting bounce back emails, phone numbers weren't working. After the initial automated response, I would hang around, just wait and see how long it would take for somebody to send a real response. The average time was about 2 days. 47% of the communities had only one person that could assist me. So if there were, if it was a weekend or the person was off, there was nobody there that could help us. For almost half of them. For 30% of them, about 150, we had to complete the form more than once. For 5%, about 25, we had to complete the form at least 5 times before we finally got somebody to reach out to us. And we could, in some of these, we could have picked up the phone. A lot of them we did pick up the phone, and it took 15 to 20 attempts. But this is just information on the contact form. In those contact forms that had comment sections, I used a scenario that my father had recently passed away. So he's looking for a place for my mom. And in all those responses, obviously, that were not automated, I only had one person that actually responded as a real response, not automated, generated from the computer. I had one person that actually passed along their sympathy for the loss of my father. Nobody else did that. Everyone immediately just started asking about mom. And the last statistic I'm going to throw at you and bore you with is 10 communities out of those 500 refused to send any information until we actually went in for a tour. They said we'd get all the information we needed until we went in for a tour. Now, this is not a sales and marketing webinar, because I'd go deep into that and talk about all that, but I was appalled by those numbers. I hope some of you are holding on to your chair and saying, I hope that we're not doing this. I hope we're not part of that, because 500 communities, that's a lot of communities, and those numbers didn't look good. But when you're looking at your contact forms, and you see this one that's on the screen now, it's not too long if you think about it. But if you put yourself in the prospect's shoes and the amount of time they put, it could be. So the idea is, the KISS methodology is to keep it super simple. And, you only want to collect the information that you need right that minute to follow up with those individuals. The more information that you request, the more cumbersome the form is going to be, and the greater that the prospect is going to forget about it. And I can tell you, when we do our mystery shops, we have some clients that have a very, very detailed survey, and we'll have shoppers that will actually go do the shop and then come back and look at the survey and realize this is just too much, I'm not doing it, and just completely bail because they don't want to spend the time filling out those long forms. Nobody wants to fill the forms. Paper forms, web isn't any different. So like I said, just got to ask yourself, you really need to know this kind of stuff. I need to know all this information. I need to know which country they belong to, or come from, how they heard about us. You can always ask a lot of this stuff later. So here's a more simple form, and I'll tell you one of the market research companies that we worked with, or that we did a market research study on last year. They were one of the large organizations, and I actually called the SVP of Sales and Marketing and said, look, I said, you have issues with your contact form, and I laid out the issues for them that we discovered when we was actually doing a market competitor research on shop on them. And they've actually now changed to a more simpler form. But here's something that's kind of big. We have these small forms, but the idea is not to make unnecessary information a requirement for using the form. I've got, you see in the red hashes here, email address and phone number, first name, last name, is mandatory. I understand that. I understand being required. I can tell you, anytime that I fill out a contact form on site, no matter what it's for, if they make me list a phone number, which makes it a requirement, I put in my fax number or I just make up a number. I don't want people calling me unless I really want them to call me, and then I'll put the number in. So, you know, the thing is that they want to give you the number and they want you to call, they'll put it in, but don't make it mandatory. Other thing is the comment boxes. All right, so and what I did on this other form here, just create a quick little form, and right here, I just added this little option in here. How do you want to be contacted? You know, email or phone. And you can set up forms that there's logic built in, so if they click on the email, it opens up the email or the phone and vice versa. But you can see, even so, none of them's required. So I'm still, obviously, they want to be connected. They want us to reach out to them. They'll put in the information that they want us to use. The comment box is another interesting thing. You can have it. You don't have to have it. It's up to you. If you do have it, here's what I would encourage you. There were this big company that I told you that I had to tell some things about their contact form. One of the big things was that it limited the number of characters that I could actually put into the comment box. So I had this scenario, and I was, you know, and I know I was just shopping, but I have to believe that there's other people out there that do the same thing. That I had like 3 paragraphs, and I was giving them here's mom's situation, here's what she needs, and I need to know if you're a good fit and what's going to cost, all that kind of stuff. I took the scenario, I copied it, and I pasted it into the comment box, and it only said I could have 500 characters. I had like 1,000. So I had to cut down my scenario. The information I was trying to give them, they wouldn't even let me because they had a limit on what I could actually put in the comment box. So if you have the comment box, leave it wide open. Let them put as much information in there that's less information that you have to receive, or if nothing else, it gives you something to build on when you start doing discovery. Confirmations are good. I think you should send the confirmation once they've signed up. You know, typically that is in the form of an email, and that's fine. A lot of times you'll see this. I actually filled the form that we see here. I went to the website, the company's website, and I filled it out, and the page refreshed, and there was nothing. I'm trying to remember if it said the form was sent. I don't think I even got that confirmation that was sent. I had to go back and check my email. But it's good to have something. What I'd like to suggest is to send them to a landing page, you know, which is to redirect them to another page, you know, and thank them for signing up. And with that, you can also track it in Google Analytics. So that's kind of it with confirmations. Now, I say go crazy with forms, and I really mean that. You can put these small, simple contact forms on every page of your website. It can be in the footer, it can be in your blogs, it can be, you know, on the sidebars of each of your pages, and they can be different. They can look different, but have these different opportunities to actually sign up and get information, or send an email to get information. There was a study done not too long ago, and 7 of 16, so about 47% of folks that inquired through a website did so from a place other than the contact page. So put these forms anywhere that you possibly can, and spruce up, make it look nice. It's kind of cool. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is call to actions. Now, these are, and you've all seen them before, you know, and it really is. It's an image, it's a text, it's something that's going to prompt the user to do something, to sign up, to register, to send for information. It's literally a call to action, which is why they call it the call to action. It's a CTA. And there's just a few basic steps of what you need to be thinking about when you develop your CTAs. One is it needs to be eye-catching. You know, something that it's gonna pop out at them. It does need to flow with the styling and the CSS of your website, but it needs to be one of those things where their attention is automatically drawn to that CTA. And you want content in there, and like I said, whether it's an image, whether it's text, you still want that content in there that's going to intrigue them to go there and actually click. And that kind of falls in line with the next bullet point there is the value. Like, you got to be getting ahead of your prospect. Like, what's in it for me? What would make me click on this? What's going to make me want to give them my information to download whatever? But there's got to be that clear value proposition. On my page, I might have where I'm giving away one of my books, an ebook. It's, reach 100% occupancy and stay there. Download, stop selling, start carrying, kind of thing. But it'd be one of these things like, boom, like, hey, that's a pretty good idea. That's a good deal. I download all kinds of free ebooks. A lot of them aren't great. A lot of them are good, but the content's written well enough where it grabs my attention. And then lastly, there's that landing page thing again. It's good to have the landing page, so whenever they click on register here or download this, it takes them to the page where they can actually fill out a form, register, download a white paper, article, ebook, whatever they might be sending. So here's just a few examples. Not this one here obviously Taste of Sunrise. That's obviously Sunrise Senior Living. I just went on their website. Every one of their community sites have that Taste of Sunrise, and you come for a tour, you get a free cookbook. That wouldn't grab me, but it grabbed my wife because she loves to cook. She's Italian, she loves to cook, so she's like, hey, I get a free cookbook, I'll go for a tour. And just say, I own a timeshare because of that. And that's another story. But here's some other cool little things that if you saw on a website, like, hey, yeah, I download now. I download that just to learn a little bit more about marketing. Or hey, here's the webinar that I think I want to register for. And you click on that, and it takes you to the landing page, and you sign up and you register. And if you're tracking all the stuff in Google Analytics, then it helps you with your web optimization and see what's working, what's not working. So let's talk about online reviews. All right, we're doing good with time here. So online reviews are starting to play a huge part in our industry, in the senior living industry. Obviously, just about everywhere you go, if you go to purchase something online, there's always reviews. I'm always looking for reviews. If you're on your smartphone and you go to the Apple Store to look or download something, you look at, if you're like me, you look at the reviews to see if it's worth it or not. In the Alpha Conference this past year, there was a panel of speakers that were speaking about online reviews. Blair, who works there at retirementhomes.com, I believe, was on that panel as well. But they said the number of reviews that's going to be posted online it's going to continually increase. They're not getting any less. They're growing. You see the little quote up there. They're going to happen whether we like it or not. There's companies out there that are collecting these reviews. And this was something from Harvard. They said that your revenue is actually can be impacted 5 to 9% just based on your reviews. And if you think about that, that's 5 to 9%. It could be positive, it could be negative. But that's a pretty significant number. Whether it's a profit, it's a higher profit, that's great, or if it's putting you in a hole, it's not so great. But it's a little scary to think that these online reviews have that much power and influence, but they do. People are leaning more towards these online reviews and looking at these online reviews before they even make a decision, even pick up the phone. Many of them are going to be looking at these reviews. So you say, where are they coming from? Well, they go to, let's say, Google. They go to Google and they might type in like assisted living reviews, or assisted living in Florida or in Orlando, wherever that reviews, and there's about 3, and these are kind of the top 3 that really are out. There's a lot of them, but these are the top 3 that have really done well and survived. But the Caring.com, SeniorAdvisor.com, Golden Reviews. These are, if you haven't been to these sites, I would encourage you to go and check them out. Pull up your community, see if your community's in there or not, and if so, see what people have written about it. Here's and these reviews are all from Caring.com. And I just wanted to throw some up here as an example. I've blurred out the names because I don't want to put any spotlights on any of these communities, but a lot of them, if I mention the company name, we probably all recognize it. What you'll see is that I'll go through these. You probably see there. I want to read them. Some are a little bit long. The big thing is that the yellow is the positive stuff, and the pink and red, light red, supposed to be kind of a red, is the stuff that's not so good. But I got about 3 or 4 of these I'll share with you real quick. But I'll highlight it. It's a nice dining room, beautiful library, apartments are lovely, and then here comes the big but. All right, so right there in the red. Administration disorganized. The staff isn't trained as well as they should be, and it's bottom line, my parents are going home because they don't get the service that they really need for the price that it costs. So the bottom line, these people are going home. So if I'm looking for my loved one and I see this review, I'm not thinking very good about this community. So I go to a different one. You see it's ranked at 1 star. Nothing but red here. It's horrible. Talk about filing a complaint with the state. They never recommend it to anybody. It's constantly dirty. They're always short-staffed. This lady here had left her father for 3 days, and I guess he's had trouble finding his way back to his room, so he decided to put him in memory care. And she came back 3 days later. He's wearing the same clothes that he had been 3 days before. He was unshaved. He was sitting in his wheelchair in a bed of urine underneath his wheelchair. It's horrible for her. She's unhappy. She took him out. There you go. Took him out. If I read that, I don't care if there's 100 good reviews and I read something like that. I'm like, nope, they're not making the list. There's no way I'm even going to consider putting mom or dad there. So here you go. Here's a good one. Not all of them are bad. It's kind of like anything else. You go to a restaurant, and rarely do we call the manager over and say, hey, this person did a great job. Now, my wife and I, we try to do that because we know that most of the time we're calling the manager because something's not right or it's just a bad situation. And a lot of times that's the way it is with reviews as well. Hopefully the industry will start turning that around. But this is, mom passed away. Before she passed away, this is where she stayed. So they thought, hey, it's a good facility. They had a lot of good choices. They chose it because it's close to me. I put that in red. The sales part of me came out because I believe, I teach about selling that we buy with emotion, we back up with fact and logic. Yet most of the time we're selling the logic. I look at this that they chose it because it's close. It's processing. That's the logic. I know there's emotion. There's emotion behind that, but that's a logical decision. But you look, a lot of yellow. Best point. There's a lot of activities. It encouraged the socialization. The staff had a good attitude, except for maybe one. If I look at this, I'm thinking that's not bad. If you got 100 staff members and only one of them had bad attitude, hey, I'll settle for that. But most of them, like I said, they're all good. She talks about, one bedroom with a bathroom didn't have a kitchen, but she came back and said there was kitchens available. They were just in bigger suites. So it was a choice that they didn't have the room with the kitchen in it. So that was good. Immediately after this one, because all of these different reviews came from different communities, but I stayed on this one because immediately after I found out, I was searching, like, I got to find a good one, at least a 4-star. It took me a while. So here's what I had. Immediately, I found this. This was directly underneath that online survey. So here it is. Appalled over the living conditions. Could never leave the center due to small hallways, lack of access, staffing issues, lack of communication. I highlighted this in yellow. Hey, they did spend a lot of money on the outside amenities. However, or the big but, the front door's in, the planners have tipped over, staff doesn't even know the residents that live there. They should be monitored extensively by state inspectors. If you call on the weekend, you need to leave a message. And here's the sarcasm. Wow, it's so wonderful to be so elite and charge so much when you provide so little. And then on the bottom line, please close your doors now. Holy smokes. I was like, wow, 4-star right above that, and then you get this 1-star. I'd be questioning it. So here's the thing about the online reviews is that the majority of these that I saw are coming from the residents, the family member, or friends of the family member. I didn't find any. Didn't spend a whole lot of time really, but spent enough time. Didn't see any that's actually coming from employees. Once employees figure that out, they'll probably be going on there posting things as well. But right now, majority is actually coming from your residents and family members. That's a pretty reliable source. If somebody gets on there and says, yep, I'm a resident or I'm a family member, I'm a friend of the person that's living there and posting this, that's a pretty credible source that I think a lot of people will be listening to. And you can take it as it's your choice. You can look at it two different ways. It can be negative or positive. One, you can look at it, hey, I got a problem on my hands, or two, I have an opportunity. It just depends, and depending on how you look at it, will depend on how you're going to react. But the bottom line is this: is that review management, online review management, is going to become a daily full-time job. It's going to require an FTE for somebody there to work these online reviews, and you see those they're going to have to respond quicker. You're going to have to, it's tough because you're getting a lot of complaints. So you got to be personal and really help them work through the solution. And because it's going to take somebody, going at this rate, it's going to take a full-time employee, FTE, your profits, if it's an expense, obviously your profits are going to go down. Because none of us, at least I haven't been to many communities where anybody has any extra free time to manage the online review process. So, we'll jump ahead and start talking about a few of the solutions and some recommendations. I threw this in there. It doesn't really matter how many leads you're getting from your website. If you're getting bad reviews. And quite frankly, I think it's, like I said, it's going to reach the point where folks are even start reviewing before they even go apply online to get information. But some won't. Some will go and do that Google search and not even realize there's reviews out there and request information. But if they do reach that point where they're starting to read reviews, the lead generation, no matter how optimized your website is, isn't really going to help. I can guarantee you that the review companies are search engine optimized friendly and hit some, they're high up on the page ranking. So the idea is, and you see the words here, you got opportunity, you got problem. This is Mikeism, this is just what I believe. I believe that if you look at it as an opportunity, you're going to be proactive about it. If you look at it as a problem, we're going to continue just to be reactive and kind of just say, hey, it is what it is. That's the beast that it is. We're just, there's nothing we can do about it. We're not going to worry about it. We're not going to hire somebody to manage it. We're just going to make the best of it. I'm hoping that most of us here on the phone will be proactive, look at it as an opportunity. And the way to do that is using the survey system. And I know there's probably a lot of you that do use the surveys, and there's some that do not use surveys. There's some that do it because it's mandatory, it's required by the state. There's some that take the leading age pledge and all those other pledges that they'll do surveys. And I used to work for a survey company, and a lot of times it just seemed like some organizations did it just to check the block. But that's where you're going to get your feedback. And that's where you can be proactive. And now I'm going to talk a little bit because the solutions that I want to share with you has to do with paper-based or whether they're electronic. And this is kind of foreign. You probably have to be thinking like, no, we can't do that. Residents aren't ready for that. But I personally think that I've spent a lot of time down in the communities doing some coaching and training and all that. And I think, honestly, I believe we sell our prospects short. They're getting educated on using social media and the website and sending emails. I know Brookdale has Wi-Fi in every one of their buildings. They have a lab that's actually run by residents that's teaching people how to get on there and send email on Facebook and get pictures and chat with their families and all that. So electronic is not something that's that foreign. At least it shouldn't be. But the problem, here's the comparison between the two survey systems. The way I see it, it's manual labor because you have to create the surveys, and there's actually a lot of work that goes into creating a paper-based surveys and the printing and all that, which means there's higher cost involved. You got the distribution time because it's going through mail. You got the time to collect it because they got to mail them back to you. Then you had to send them into the scanner and analyze all the answers. And if there's any verbatim comments, which most of them should have them on there, those got to be manually entered in. Then the action plan, which is critical. And almost every community I go in, and for some reason they seem like I'm a good person to talk to, and that I have the eyes and ears of the corporate office, and they like to tell me things. And I like to follow up with, well, your organization will be sending out surveys pretty soon. And probably 70–80% of the time I get this response, oh, they don't read those things anyways, it doesn't matter. And I think what happens is maybe they are read, but by the time they're read and the process analyzed and you think about doing something, several months have passed and the residents have even forgotten about it. And as far as they're concerned, they feel like that you've forgotten about them. So it's a time issue. Normally, they're issued once or twice a year, and I think most organizations probably only do it once a year because of the high cost. And because of that, your surveys are a whole lot longer. Guess what? It goes back to the whole form thing. Nobody really wants to fill out a whole long form, get into a whole lot of detail. It gets cumbersome after a while. And here's the great thing about the electronic version. Manual labor is obviously it's minimal because it's electronically developed. The distribution can happen immediately. I'll show you the different types of distribution. Collection, as soon as the response is done, it updates reports in real time. So you see real-time results, which means the analysis, all analysis is being done in real time as soon as each survey is completed. You can act immediately, so you can actually get triggers. And this is kind of cool. Our system actually, you can set it up to where it will send you an email before the person even finishes the survey. So if you ask early on like on a new tour, if you're surveying somebody after a new tour, and they're sitting there in the lobby and they're filling this out on the smartphone or on the iPad at the reception desk, and one of the first questions, like, this place do you consider living? And they put no. If you had triggers that every time somebody answered no, you get, send an email, it would immediately send an email to you as soon as they click to go to the next page to complete the survey. So you literally can act immediately. They can be issued multiple times a year because most of the surveys are unlimited. You have unlimited surveys, you have unlimited responses. And lastly, you can actually make the survey shorter, and they should be shorter, and make it more focused because you can send them out more often. So here's just some examples, some digital comment cards. This is an idea that came to us a few years ago when I sat down with Jim Pusateri from Brookdale. But his thing was, hey, Mike, I want a system that will help us. I want to know what the customer experience was as soon as they walk out the door. And it took me a couple of years to rack our brains, but we finally got the system and got it going. But it's about new tours. That's where that survey falls in. And then I started thinking before I demoed this to them, I thought, well, what else could they use it for? And I started thinking housekeeping, their activities, the dining room. Their staff could actually walk around with having an iPad with them and ask the residents, they wear a button that says, ask me how you can provide feedback, but they can literally, fill out a comment card, right there on the spot and get feedback. So if their food was cold, too salty, or they wanted more choices, they can literally do it right there on the spot and automatically get sent to your board or email if you so desire. Renovations. Jim told me that, at any given day, they're doing renovations on 100 of their communities. He said, but we're doing renovations that we think would be best for the residents. He goes, we want to be able to ask the residents what they think would be best as far as renovations. So there you go. Here's a great tool to provide that feedback. But if you can imagine it and you want to collect data on it, it can be done. And you can collect it in real time and you can act in real time. It can be implemented, like I said, here, example, reception desk with an iPad, which would be in kiosk mode. So what that means is that the survey would just load up onto the iPad there, and the person would go through. They'd fill out the survey, or it could be, if you remember, the true name digital comment cards came from the comment card concept, where you walk into an organization, they had them hanging on the wall. There said fill out the comment, put it in the comment box. You literally could have a digital comment card where they could just put any comment, they just fill it out. It could be a text box, and hey, the sidewalk has a crack in it outside, or there's a bump in the rug or something, and they can put it in there and it immediately gets your attention. But the reception desk would be an iPad. They fill that out. As soon as they hit the submit button, at about 4 or 5 seconds later, it just the survey just relaunches again and allows the next person. Housekeeping, dining room, same thing. It could be iPad set up in a kiosk. They can carry it with them. If there's any feedback, they can show the resident how to do it. Put it, they can enter the feedback right there onto the iPad. Family members, employees, they can do it online, send it out by email, and fill it out. Here's all. I'm not going to get into this. Here's all the different ways that it can be distributed through your website. It can be embedded. You can send it out for email. You can put it on your different social media pages. You can put a QR code. It integrates with a lot of different CRMs and also some social media contact companies like MailChimp. Google Docs, you can have all the responses as soon as they're finished, actually get submitted into a Google Docs online, and you can take that and manipulate it. Plus, all the data can be downloaded as an Excel spreadsheet as well. So here's some common facts. I know we're getting close here. Here's just some common questions that we get. So I'm already using a paper-based survey. That's great. I'm not saying don't use it anymore, but this might be an option to use in a support role. Like, okay, I send it out once a year, but all right, now I can send this out. I can use the electronic survey to send out maybe on a quarterly just to follow up and see how well we're doing. See if there's anything, if they complain, if a resident, family member, employee complains about something today, they'll probably have something to complain about next month and 2 months, 3 months down the road, and this gives them the opportunity to do that instead of waiting another year. And can we distribute paper-based and digital? Yeah, we can. We focus primarily on the digital. If the project's not that big, we'll keep it in-house, print out the surveys, do all that kind of stuff. If it's a large project, large organization, then we partner with another company that handles that for us. We talk about pricing. I'll go this real quick. What I remember, and I haven't priced these in a year or so, in a couple of years, but they range anywhere between $5 to $20, and that could be all in, including reports, per survey sent. With the digital comment cards, like the digital comment card would be the new tours, the dining room, it could be the activities. Those would be digital comment cards, and those are priced at unlimited on a per community basis, as you see there. For surveys for the residents, family member, employees, those are based on survey sent, and depending on volume, is $1 to $3. So you can see a major difference. And real quick, I use an example at 320. I calculated it out. You did paper at in the middle ground at $10 per survey, $3,200. If you did online survey at the high point at $3, $960. Really, all that's telling you that you could send this out 4 times for the price that you could do one paper-based. So even if you were just using paper-based for your residents, this is something to consider for family members and employees. So here's your takeaway. Everything we talked about, some of the technical stuff, it's a lot easier than you think. If you've hired a company and you have a company out there that manages your website and your search engine and your blogs and all that kind of stuff, I know you're spending a ton of money because there's a lot of companies out there making a ton of money doing this kind of stuff, and it is easy enough to do it yourself if you have the time and you take the time to actually learn. The other thing, remember, be proactive. It'd be really cool if instead of all these negative online reviews, people were actually posting good things, like that 4-star that we saw. So, it was good stuff. There was a small but in there, but, going on there saying, hey, this is great. But, rarely do people do that. But when they start doing that, now you can actually turn that into testimonials. But the good thing is about being proactive is, hey, before they even get to the point where they're posting something online and they pulled their family member out, you've been proactive, you surveyed, you got feedback, you've acted on it, and what I've learned with a lot of these residents, family members, they just want to know that they've been heard, and that's key to them. And determine the best course of action, whether that is just, if you're not surveying, maybe you want to use a paper survey, maybe you want to use electronic version, maybe you want to use both, but do something and act on it. Don't wait till next year and say, I got to fit it into my budget. Figure out a way to fit it into your budget. Because if you think about how much it costs to have an empty apartment, if you think about what it costs to replace an employee, Gallup has done this research for years. It's normally twice a person's salary to replace them. And we all know a lot of people don't leave. Most people don't leave over financial reasons and compensation. A lot of them leave because they feel undervalued and unappreciated. And if they just had a tool or mechanism where they could put that, even as anonymous, to be able to put something like, hey, this is what's going on, I don't feel good about it. If you could just say one employee, that right there hits your bottom line positively. And then take advantage of the giveaways that I'm about to talk about here real quick. And here they are. Now, you see this whole long link. You can go ahead and start writing that down if you want. I'm going to also have it on the next slide because now we're going to get to the point where you can ask questions. But that's the whole link, and I apologize for that. But there's where you need to go to collect this. It does include like a 4 or 5 question survey, but I have at the top of that survey. You don't have to answer those questions if you don't want. I didn't make them mandatory. Didn't make it required. You can just skip by all those, and what it'll do and it'll take you to a landing page. Excuse me. First of all, I'll talk about these two. Stop Selling, Start Caring is my ebook. I wrote it specifically for the senior living industry, has to do with sales and marketing. And then What Counts as a High-Quality Site. This is an article that was written by the head of Google Search. And there's about 23 things that you can look at to optimize your website. Everybody that goes to this URL, there's an option to click whether you get that or not. It's still going to, I'm just going to warn you right now, it's still going to redirect you to this page to download. If you want the digital comment cards, so what I'm doing is providing 3 months. I give you a quarter to try out a digital comment card at one of your communities to see, maybe it's the new tour. That's the popular one. If it's something that you think would be a good investment. We'll do that for 3 months. And the way that's going to work, everybody that responds, I'm going to take all the names, I'm going to put them in a hat, I'm going to draw a name, that's going to be the community that's going to get it. So I will be asking for your name to see that as a requirement. The other thing, which we haven't really talked about, I haven't talked about at all, but we do mystery shopping. So also for one community, we'll do a complimentary recorded telephone mystery shop. Same thing, we'll pull your name out of a hat for everybody that goes to this link and fills this information out. We'll pull your name out, and if you're who we pull it out, we'll get in touch with you and let you know that you're getting a free shop or comment card. If you change your mind, that's fine. We'll pull another name. And that's it, Robert. I think, yeah, I think we're good to go. Once again, you'll see here's the link again down here if you're viciously writing that long thing down. But besides that, Robert, if there's any questions, I'm ready to field them.
Okay, perfect. So just before we continue with the questions, finish off with the questions, I do want to mention, of course, as you mentioned, Mike, that, of course, retirementhomes.com also has a comprehensive review function. So, before you, after the webinar, go on retirementhomes.com, find your community or your company, and definitely ensure that customers and visitors, residents, and so on are positively reviewing you. As Mike said, there's a lot of value in that. Okay, so we have one question regarding contact forms. How do you feel about using CAPTCHA as an all-out filter? I'm a developer who's struggling with controlling spam through our contact form, and have developed a system that's capable of eliminating virtually everything, but it's also catching some legitimate inquiries along with it. What would you recommend?
Yeah, I would recommend to use it, and if you look at my website, I have it as well, because I still, you're going to get a lot of spam if you don't, because you've got these people out there, they just crawl the website, they look for these forms, and they put in all this that you could download a virus. At least you know if you got the CAPTCHA. For those who don't know, the CAPTCHA is that thing at the bottom of a form where you got to fill out a number. You got to put a number in, you fill out the string of letters, or it's a math problem, small math problem or something, to let the website know that, hey, this is actually a human being that's filling this out. But also what's interesting about all that is that the website developer, even if they fill out, they're going out there filling the CAPTCHA form, it will, some spam may, you do have people that take some time, some spam will get through, but it will not, it won't block any good messages, and the developer can actually manage that as well. Hopefully that answers the question.
Sure.
But yeah, I am a fan of CAPTCHA.
Okay. All right, and you know what, Mike? I think we do have some more questions, but we can certainly send. For those who we don't have time for the questions, all the information is right there on the page, and of course we'll be sending out the recording of this afterwards. So we apologize we don't have a lot of time, but definitely feel free to follow up afterwards. So again, thank you so much, Michael, for that presentation. Again, that was Michael Miller of Primo Solutions LLC. This presentation will be available on retirementhomes.com as well as at youtube.com/retirementhomes. And as I mentioned just a few minutes ago, visit retirementhomes.com and search for your community and invite your visitors, residents, and guests to review you online. Our next webinar will be next month, so check retirementhomes.com for information on all our upcoming sessions, or contact me the information there on the left for all details. Have a wonderful day.